We are back now with our panel. Seung-min Kim, I want to ask you, the president has already been out there on the campaign trail 3 times this week. He was in Ohio last night ahead of the special election. We also learned that former President Obama is going to be hitting the campaign trail pretty soon and laid out his endorsements. Are they going to be going head to head?
It'd be interesting to see if that happens and where there can be the most influential. I think one test case of that could be in the Georgia governor's race, where we've seen Stacey Abrams as one of the 80 candidates that the former president put his muscle behind when he made his endorsement announcements over the week. But President Trump has also put his political power behind the Republican candidate there. Remember, in that primary, it looked as if the perceived more mainstream candidate, Casey Cagle, would have won the primary, but President Trump weighed in with a tweet, and boom, went Brian Kemp winning that nomination. So that could be an interesting state, considering all the dynamics in Georgia, where the 2 presidents could go head to head. But the president's political power and how much he matters is really going to be on display in that special election this Tuesday. I mean, we saw him go last minute, try to get that last minute surge for Republican Troy Balderson, ahead of the election on Tuesday, but people are already drawing parallels to that special election that we had in Pennsylvania back in March, where it's a very Republican district. The president had won that district by 20 points, but it was the Democrat who surged to victory in that race. There's already a lot of nervousness among the Republican Party about whether they're going to lose this seat. This is a seat that went for President Trump by 11 points. This is a seat that the Republicans should win, but outside groups are pouring so much money into this race. And it'll be a major backlash for Republicans if Democrats emerge victorious there on Tuesday.
Leslie, do you expect the seat to be flipped?
I don't. I don't. A lot of people would like to think that that's the case, but I think there's a lot of movement. There's a lot of undercurrent underneath this wave. We say this is the big blue wave with a lot of pink boats, the female candidates, the non-traditional candidates that are coming in, and we like. But in this case, when the president does, in most cases, marshal his resources, get the party behind him, put all those dollars in, that was really the message of the summer meeting in Austin last week, that you get on board or you get out. This president is going to win. You need to get his message and really champion that. But I think there's some
anomalies. He made that clear in Ohio last night,
He
right?
really did. And he still, and the word is coming down, which is why I say the Republican Party went from a roar to a whisper. They're like, well, he's winning. So at what cost do they win? But there's interesting issues like that. And I'd also point to a non-traditional place like Texas Congressional District 31, which you have MJ Hager, which is the female candidate, the veteran helicopter pilot who's raising 4 times as much as her incumbent opponent, Republican area. She used to be a Republican, running as a Democrat, getting a lot of interest, and Republican women are taking her seriously and now looking at holding fundraisers for her. So there's a lot of fissures within what these swing districts or even Republican safe districts would look like.
And when you listen to the president, when he speaks at these rallies, it sounds like a greatest hit. Some of the things that during his own campaign really seemed to resonate with his base in terms of immigration and the press, Mark.
Yes.
Enemy of the people. Kellyanne Conway said she doesn't believe that the media is an enemy of the people. This is obviously useful for the president. He cites it frequently. Why does he argue this?
Well, as you say, it plays wonderfully with his base, and it's been a hit for him throughout the campaign, and it continues to be one of the most popular things. When you go to a Trump rally, it almost has such a feeling of ritual now, and there's certain things that people who go to rallies expect, and one of the things they expect is the opportunity to start chanting CNN sucks and to turn around and vilify the people standing in the media pen. So that's why he does it. I think that the problem that we're running into is that his repeated and methodical use of the phrase enemy of the people, and he did it as recently as this morning when he also suggested that people in the media cause wars to happen, is that phrase is particularly loaded. The phrase fake news, which he also uses, is corrosive to the credibility of the media over time. It's unfair. He shouldn't use it. But the phrase enemy of the people is, I think, a whole different order of magnitude. This is a phrase that has a long historic provenance. It goes back to the French Revolution. It goes back to Stalin, to Mao, to Lenin. People in those totalitarian societies use the phrase enemy of the people to suggest that one group in society was subhuman. And by doing so, it opened the door to all kinds of violence being carried out against them. I'm not saying that President Trump understands the historical provenance of this phrase, but people who are seeing it out in the world certainly do. So by using it over and over again the way he does, I think he opens the door to the possibility of bad things happening. Now, we've been really lucky. We've been through many, many, many rallies during the campaign and since he's been president, and there really hasn't been a spillover to outright violence. It's been more in the realm of menacing reporters, and it's scary, but, you know, I don't think any of us have really had anyone take a swing at us. But the fear I have is that by continuing to do this, by normalizing this language, by making it part of the vocabulary of the country, he does open the door to have some violence happen down the road. And I think that's just extraordinarily dangerous.
And that's why I ask it, because I know many of us find it uncomfortable talking about journalists, being them ourselves. Paula, family separation. Tell me where we are with the administration trying to reunify families.
They're not completely done with this yet. There's still a long way to go. And I think this is one of the clearest examples of the president sort of coming out with a policy, not all the key players being on the same page. Almost exactly what we saw with the travel ban, too. And we saw, well, yes, it's a deterrent. No, it's not a deterrent. No, this is a new policy. No, this isn't a new policy. And they've created quite a legal quagmire for themselves. So there's still a lot of work to be done in terms of reunifying the families. And then the big question of, well, what exactly is the administration's policy at this moment? And if you cross the border into the U.S. illegally, will you be detained together as a family? Will you be separated? What exactly happens to you?
And about roughly 400 or so families.
If that may be the last number, yes.
All right, thank you very much. We will be right back in a moment.